Hello guys, welcome back to Audible Odyssey. So let's step into a world of immersive storytelling where gripping tales of mystery, horror and adventure come to life. Each narration is crafted to pull you into the heart of the story, creating an unforgettable audio experience. From spine-tingling horrors to timeless classics, Audible Odyssey Adventures is your gateway to thrilling journeys beyond imagination. Subscribe now, and let the stories take you to places you've never dreamed of. Audible Odyssey presents I Need Your Help. People's lives are at stake, possibly mine. I don't know yet. I live out in the country, basically in the middle of nowhere. I tend to a small farm. Nothing much, but enough to live comfortably off of. I rely wholly on my car to get to the city for groceries and to go to farmers markets and meet wholesalers who want to buy a portion of my crop. That is until it vanished one day. I woke up, got dressed and prepared to go into town to set up at the farmer's market, and I found that my car was missing. I didn't know if it had been stolen or if it had just disappeared, but I went to go call the police. That's when I found out the phone lines don't work either. I've tried to call the police. Call my family. I think I called for a pizza one time, but every time I do I hear noises on the other end instead of whoever I should be talking to, or at least their voicemail, not screams or Latin charts like I'm sure you expect from one of these stories, but peaceful noises, birds chirping, running water, stuff like that. One time I heard a woman's voice say something in what I think was Italian. She sounded happy, not excited, but at peace. I tried to look up what she said on the internet, but I can't transcribe a language I don't know. Speaking of the internet, I suppose you're wondering why I haven't contacted someone that way. Maybe tried to tell one of my clients of my situation in hopes they'd bring a car or something that I could use to get out of here. Every time I go to email someone I know, I get some rubbish response that I'm very sure isn't being sent directly by them. For example, I sent this message to a friend of mine, Dave, in the hopes he could help me out. Yo Dave, someone stole my car. Can you give me a lift to the police station? Ty and advance, Jerry. This was the response I got from brother Jeremiah. Be at peace. God is with you. Now you do not need to leave your little Garden of Eden, or rather, the Farm of Eden. I will visit you, but the walls are too thick right now. They'll wear you down. Eventually all things follow. Ezekiel. I don't know anyone called Ezekiel. I never get any responses that are signed by the people that supposedly sent them to me. I've gotten emails from lots of other people though, people with old names that make me think of Warmish farmers or pilgrims navigating the Oregon Trail. Ezekiel, he, Jonah, Deborah Nice, the list goes on. I don't think I've ever heard any of these names applied to anyone I've ever known or even people I've heard of in the last century. They sound Warmish. Maybe a bunch of Warmish people are just messing with me or something. They're all nice, but very insistent on one thing that I can't, or, as they put it, don't need to leave. Well, they're all nice, but with one exception. Whenever I try to message one person, in particular, one of my clients, Mr. Drake, I get messages from someone calling themselves Isaac, where all of the other people I get messages from are relatively kind and peaceful. Isaac is cruel. Here's an example, Mr. Drake. I'm sorry I couldn't come to our arranged meeting. I'm now stranded without a car. Would you mind coming to pick me up so I can report the theft of my car to the police? Thank Jerry Franklin. This is what I got back. Foolish heathen, thinkst thou that thou art too good for the gift thou hast received? Thou hast been blessed, and thou art as blessed as thou art ungrateful. Thou wilt burn in the fires of Satan surely for refusing to let God into thine black heart. Isaac. I don't understand who any of these people are or what they want from me, although with Isaac it's probably a minute to tell me the good news or why they're messaging me. I don't know why Isaac is the only one using Old English. If this was all that was happening, I'd think it was a bizarre prank by a deranged cult. I know it isn't though. Because at the same time as these occurrences started happening, he showed up person, or perhaps the thing I'm referring to is an entity that I've dubbed the Faceless Mourner, or he is the thing I need help with. He's the reason that there are lives in danger. He's about 5 feet and 10 in tall. He's always wearing the same thing, when I see him, a black suit and tie, something that looks like it would be worn at a funeral, white silk gloves and a ski mask with no holes in it. At least I think it's a ski mask. He might not be wearing gloves. He's either wearing a ski mask and gloves or his skin is made of cloth, either. I'm confident he doesn't have AF. Every time I'm close enough to see him clearly, I can see he has no facial features beneath his mask. You know how you see the sloping slants of a person's visage under there? Mask. This guy, I swear, has almost rounded facial features. He has a pointed chin and a high brow, and that's it. I can't identify any eyes, mouth, or nose-like bumps under his cloth exterior. It's odd, I can't tell whether his face is a flat surface or almost rounded. He also carries an open pink umbrella every time I see him. It's reddish pink with a white floral design. The handle is plain and wooden. It's either open or closed depending on the weather, but he'll have it open on days where it's raining and snowing or in excess sunshine. He never shows any discomfort about the weather despite how harsh the conditions here have become. He doesn't normally move, but when he does, he either does it in quick and short increments or slowly and gradually. Like a flower turning towards the sun. One last thing. Every time he appears, he brings a corpse with him. Now you see why I said lives are in danger. I'm not sure whether it's him killing them. I'm not even sure how they got here, as I never see them appear during my stakeouts, and he can't be carrying them, as his frame is quite diminutive. They appear differently depending on what season it is. That's right, I said season. This has been happening for what I can only seem to measure in years, the first time the faceless miner came. I noticed a small calendar on my nightstand. A little thing you'd see on someone's desk rather than on their wall. Nothing was remarkable about it other than the fact. A week's worth of days had passed since I fell asleep. Time passes faster here. Seasons change in the span of weeks. 1 year here lasts 52 days anyway. Back to the corpses. I always find him standing over them as if silently contemplating the loss of a friend. The conditions are the same every time and they change depending on the season for convenience. I'll describe these events as burials. The seasons won't change correctly and the day won't end until either I bury the corpse or burn it. I've taken to burning them as this has been happening so long I'm running out of space in my yard, although I've noticed the makeshift grave markers I prepared for them disappearing and the ground levels after a while. In winter the burial takes place in a blizzard. The faceless mourner stands stock-still against the raging winds and tearing snow. His umbrella seems to shield him adequately as I've never seen him get wet in either a spring or winter burial. The corpse is always frozen solid under a foot of snow. This is probably the hardest burial for me as I not only have to dig the corpse up, I also have to find enough dry wood to get a proper fire going. It's always stops snowing after I have enough firewood so I can dig a proper fire pit and burn the corpse. The faceless mourner often not always pulls out a notepad, at this point, scribbles something down on it and tears the page away, handing it to me. He always writes things like "Bundle up Jeremiah, you'll catch a cold," or "I'm making cocoa, do you want some?" I was going to accept cocoa. But whenever I looked up from reading them he's gone in spring. The burial takes place in light rain. The faceless mourner stands above a corpse floating face down in a puddle of rainwater. From these corpses, the winter and spring ones, does seem to have any wounds betraying their cause of death. If I had to guess, I'd say they froze or drowned, but why would they be under a foot of snow or lying down in a puddle? Anyway, this burial is the easiest because I can just dig a hole in the wet dirt and lay the poor soul to rest there. I usually put together a few boards or something as a grave marker. When I do make grave markers, The faceless mourner walks over to them and pins on notes from his notepad. The things he writes are really odd. It seems he makes up his own causes of death. Here are some examples. Here lies Uriel, died of sadness. Here lies Meredith. I tried to help her, he didn't, and, oddly enough, here lies Ben. I'm not quite sure where he went. I'll find him eventually. I'm not sure whether he means spiritually or physically, but after pinning the note there he nods at it and just sort of stands there until I look away. When I do, he disappears. The fall burials are probably my second to least favorite. The miner knocks on my door. If I open it, he walks away and motions to follow. If I don't, he won't go away. When I follow him, he leads me to a grove of trees that's never there except in the fall. The corpse is always hanging from a tree. There's always a sticky note pinned to it. It always says, "Do you feel guilt?" I always do. I don't know why, because these are people I don't really know. I vaguely remember some of them being mean to me a while ago, maybe a few years at the latest, but I never wished Mrs. Rossetti my third-grade math teacher died. I certainly never hoped I'd find her here hanging from a tree. The corpses are always on the higher branches and I have to cut them down to bury them. The soil is still good, so I can usually do it. I normally just bury them in the forest, but one time I did that and found the corpse in the tree again, so I took it into the yard. It was obvious how they died, but the thing is how the corpses get up there. The taller trees are around 20 feet and the miner doesn't seem like a tree climbing with a corpse. A more obvious question would be where the forest comes from or goes, but I can't even begin to get into that one. The summer burials are the worst, easily the worst. I started thinking about them in May. I can't sleep more than a few minutes on the last night or week before June during the summer burials. The ground is cracked like it would be in a desert. All of the grass is gone and the few trees that are left are dead. The sun is so strong I actually have to put on sunblock or I'll get burned so badly I won't be able to walk. The next day the miner stands over a decomposing corpse that's been gruesomely murdered. The wounds range from bullets to the head to having had their stomach ripped open and all their organs stuffed down their throat. The mourner writes a note preemptively pinning it to the corpses. They always have an accusatory tone, saying things like "monster, unforgiven," and "repent." I don't understand what he means by this. I've never hurt anyone in my life and now this monster starts bringing corpses onto my property and blames me to their deaths. The third time this happened, I tried to punch him in the face, but with inhuman reflexes he batted my hand out of the way with his umbrella, striking so fast that he almost broke my wrist. I could bury the corpse in the summer ground. It is too hard. Thankfully the trees are all dead, so I can use them for easy firewood. The bad part is the smell. It smells like every dead thing in the world combined into one big dead thing, and I decided that I needed to vomit right then. I always did. The first time it took me 4 tries to stop. When I finally did, I looked up and noticed the mourner offering me a flask. I knew that whatever he had in there wasn't water. I didn't care. I just needed to get the smell of corpse out of my nose and the taste of bee out of my mouth. I grabbed it and took a long swig. It's hard to describe the taste. It tasted not so much like apples as it did apple peels. It hardly tasted like anything with a crisp aftertaste. Right then it could have been ditch water and I still would have drunk the whole thing. I handed the flask back to him. He put it in his suit and left in the way he's accustomed to, not leaving until I watched him leave. The burials come about once a month, although I've had 2 before. I've never had 2 in the summer. Fortunately, this has been going on for what I've counted out to be about 2 years. I've buried or burned almost 100 people now. I think this is all I have. I know it sounds fake, but please, I need help. Does anyone know if I've been cursed or if I'm haunted? I know there's no logical. So guys, the video has ended now. If you like our stories and want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to Audible Odyssey channel and do all these things: like, comment, share, and subscribe. Enjoy horror and adventure stories like this. So just subscribe to Audible Odyssey. Bye bye.